Look at the Monday night game that's going right now. Browns basically just beat down the Bengals. They ran all over them. For update, looks like T. Higgins just mossed somebody. So, oh yeah, T. Higgins just mossed somebody to make the score look a little bit prettier. But it's looking like the Bengals are probably going to lose that one unless they have a miracle comeback. That was a great catch by T. Higgins. Wow. But yeah, basically overall, the Browns just look really dominant in a game that basically was like a must-win game. The game was just must-win for the fact that the Browns, if they lost that game, they might look like sellers, maybe get rid of Kareem Hunt and everything. Now, if they win, they might keep him. And then just the fact that, basically, yeah, with like a 2-6 record or whatever, they didn't really have any looks to go in somewhere. If they win this game, division looks a little more in chance. So going to that Thursday night game, the Rams. Wait, before I start, some trade news before the trade deadline. Roquan Smith just got traded today to the Ravens from the Bears. That wasn't a pretty good haul for the Ravens. I mean, and after the trade with Robert Quinn to the Eagles, I mean, you saw Roquan Smith's reaction. It felt like it was only a matter of time. So, I mean, I guess good for him. Hopefully he gets a chance to play in a better environment than the one he was in because it seems like he wanted a better one. But yeah, the Ravens basically beat the Bucs. Lamar, the first half was kind of looked ugly. They passed a lot. Didn't seem like to be the Ravens they were. And then Tampa didn't really do too much to like get ahead or anything. So second half rolls around and the Ravens, I think Lamar went like 8 for 8, had 2 touchdowns. They just ran all over him, had like 200 plus yards in the second half. I mean, they just absolutely ran all over him. Basically, this Bucs team, they just look confused right now. I don't know what's really going on with them. I mean, they look rough right now, honestly. And I mean, this is a team as a whole, they just look really bad. And it's just weird from a team that we're used to seeing so good with Tom Brady. Sunday night game, I mean, the Packers don't look really that good either. The defense was supposed to be really good, and I know it's the Bills, but, like, the defense really didn't do much of anything that game. Really, I mean, because the score is a little bit deceiving because the Bills could have stepped on the pedal, but it felt like they kind of, once they went up like 27, I think it was like 27-10 or like 27-3, they kind of just like stepped off the pedal a little bit and let the game get a little bit closer. I mean, the Packers just with the Bucs, I mean, they look confusing right now. I mean, I don't know what to think of Aaron Rodgers. He's playing iffy right now. I mean, but something promising for the Packers. Something promising for the Packers. They got a lot of the running game, and they got a lot out of the running game, and they ran all over the Bills. So hopefully that's a sign for other teams. They might be able to run all over that team, and I mean, it might be a good thing for the Packers to look forward to going into the future, maybe running the ball a little more, getting effective runs like that. But overall, I mean, it was just a really good win by a really good football team in the Bills. For the London game against Denver and Jacksonville, Jacksonville does what they do. They went up early. I think it was like 10-0, and then Broncos went up 14-10, and then Jacksonville got a late touchdown. Somewhat-ish, and then Russell had like 2 big throws on a final drive, and then they got down. Latavius Murray, is either Latavius Murray or Melvin Gordon, I can't remember which one it was, punched it in, and the Broncos ended up beating the Jags. I mean, this is a much-needed win for Broncos team that's been struggling, and they've been really needing to find themselves. So this was just a huge, huge win for them. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, they continue to look bad. I mean, another game where they led and they blew it. They just can't get off script. When the script goes away, this team just seems to go away itself. I mean, they've had strong first and third quarters, but second and fourth they just get eaten alive. I mean, it's just bad all around in Jacksonville right now. I mean, there's questions, I bet. I mean, Jacksonville has a decent roster. It's just they can't put it together for whatever reason right now. And then losing that, and then for Denver, I mean, it was a huge, much-needed win. Now they're going into a bye. Hopefully they get a chance to recuperate and get healthy and maybe figure some stuff out going into the next week. For the Cardinals-Vikings, I mean, the Vikings, I guess, are a really, really good team. They played really well that game. The Cardinals basically got screwed when Dortch muffed the punt, and the Vikings later took it in to score. I mean, the Cardinals, D-Hop had a really decent day. I remember he had a really big fantasy day. Kyler did all right as well. I just mean, Cardinals didn't win the game. They just continue to lose, and it's just like, the more they lose, the louder it gets between Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler. And, I mean, it just sucks for the Cardinals because, I mean, they're still might be a good team, but it's hard to take away because, I mean, they stayed in the game, honestly. The Vikings couldn't put them away, really, so it's kind of quite impressive. But I mean, the Vikings are a pretty good team too. I mean, they just continue to win. They win week in and week out, and I mean, yeah, that's just a really good play by them. Also going on too, as the weeks go on, since we're getting closer to the playoffs, I'm going to talk less and less about some of like the bad teams. Like obviously I'll still bring them up, talking about them a little bit, but as we get closer to playoffs, I want to maybe focus more on the specific playoff teams. I want to focus more on like the playoff teams that are playing really well, and then like the teams that have a chance to go in and everything. So, but it's still a little bit early for that, so I'll still go over more generally a lot of these games. In the track meet between the Lions and Dolphins, I think the Lions went up. They go up 14 early in that game, and then they blew it. I mean, that defense is atrocious. They just fired the DB coach today, which makes a lot of sense. No, but it makes a lot of sense for firing a DB coach. I mean, their defense is atrocious. They give up so many yards every single game. Tua looked really, really good. He had some underthrown passes a bit, but I mean, Tyreek Hill made the adjustment, makes the catch. I mean, they're a really good football team, and they're still undefeated with Tua. So the Dolphins might be a wagon. I mean, with the DBs hurt and everything, they found a way to win. So yeah, I'll just rush over this game. There's not much to talk about. And the Saints just absolutely demolished Raiders 24-0. I mean, Alvin Kamara had a field day all over that Raiders defense. He did whatever he wanted to them. Had a monster fantasy day for fantasy owners. And I mean, yeah, the Raiders just basically did not show up at all. They played awful. Devontae Adams was sick. He didn't play all week, and he didn't play well either. And it's just, yeah. Really bad game by the Raiders, who just continue to look worse and worse. So now the questions should come: is McDaniel's issues? Is it the system? Like, we'll have to see. But very impressive win by the Saints. Another one, the Dallas Cowboys and Bears. I mean, the Bears, I will give them their dues and props. I mean, Justin Fields looks a lot better in the rushing game, and the Bears continue to impress with that aspect of it. But overall, still, I mean, they're still the Bears right now. Team's not the best, and I mean, the Cowboys definitely have the better team, superior team. And this game, there was a half a second this game. There was a half second this game where you thought it might be a little bit competitive with the Bears, and then the Cowboys just proved their bigger team, blew it up. Michael Parsons had a touchdown in the game, which was funny because Jalen Hurts ended up jumping like right over him instead of touching him. Or excuse me, Justin Fields jumped right over him instead of touching him. Jets, Patriots, I mean, that score is deceiving for how close it was. It was basically 22-10. And like the crunch, I mean, just Zach Wilson just played awful. I mean, he had 3 interceptions. There was a pick six that the Jets had that once they had a roughing the passer with it, it felt like it just took all the momentum. And I mean, the Patriots, they found a way to win. They played good. Mac Jones didn't lose him the game. He didn't win him the game necessarily either. It was just a good Patriots win against the Jets team that they own. So yeah, now to the Falcons Panthers. I mean, wow, what a game. Basically, it's back and forth a lot of the game. Falcons basically were in control, it felt like. And then out of nowhere, Dante Foreman and the Panthers, they just found a way. I mean, they had it close. Foreman had 3 touchdowns on the day. And then basically PJ Walker had a really, really nice heave and threw it up to DJ Moore, who caught it. He mossed somebody for caught an absolute bomb for a touchdown, and he basically kind of screwed him over. I mean, it sucks, honestly. I get that you can't take your helmet off and everything, but I also get the celebration, whatever. But he took off his helmet, celebrated. Pinheiro had to kick a 48-yard extra point. They missed it. Falcons get ball for overtime, and then they throw an interception. Panthers bring it all the way back down the 34-yard line, and they miss the go-ahead field goal, and then the Falcons bring it back down the other way and have the go-ahead field goal. Kyle Pitts has a big day finally for the first time in a while, too, for the Falcons, and it's just, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Pinheiro for the Panthers, because, I mean, he had the 48-yard I kind of get because it's the farther back, but that huge 34-yard miss was really, really bad. Eagles-Steelers, I mean, it wasn't even competitive. A.J. Brown had 3 touchdowns, potentially could have had 5. It seemed like from the game, from like the 2 plays, but I mean, yeah, just the monster game by the Eagles. They continue to be undefeated, and they just continue to be wagons. The Texans, not much here. I mean, Dameon Pierce had a late touchdown. It was basically 17-3 the whole game. Like, Pierce had the touchdown with 40 seconds left. Like, it was not competitive at all. Derrick Henry, I think, rushed for 2 bills, and he had 2 touchdowns. He continues to do it this, I think, is 4 games in a row. I mean, honestly, I'm probably going to bet it next time they play again, too, because, I mean, he just for some reason that he just runs all over that Texans team, and that Texans team just lets everyone run all over them this season. So very good win by the Titans, who look like they're probably going to lock up the division with the Colts loss. Yeah, with the Colts looking like they're going to lose. Well, obviously they lost, but with the Colts losing, I mean, Titans basically have the best, and the Jaguars, I mean, everyone lost except for the Titans in the division. They have a really good chance of winning it. Also, Bengals game has like 4 minutes left, but Bengals game has 4 minutes left, but is basically over. I mean, they're gonna get beat pretty bad by the Browns. So yeah, that's just yikes. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about the 49ers Rams. This basically was a no contest. McCaffrey threw for a touchdown. He basically got the cycle, threw for a touchdown, caught one, and then ran one in. Had a monster fantasy day as well. 49ers look really, really good with him now. The Rams continue to struggle. I mean, the 49ers just continue to be a wagon. I mean, Cooper Kupp's hurt next week, so it'll be interesting to see if he plays for the Rams. I mean, the Rams have been struggling this year, and it's just, who knows what's going to happen to them. It just losing Odell and Von Miller has really just been a huge, it seems like, culture shock, and then changed them. And then between the O-line injuries and retirements, I mean, yeah, they just can't seem to catch a break. And then for the Seahawks-Giants, this was a really good game. I mean, Daniel Jones finally had his floor game where he basically didn't do much of anything. And, yeah, he just basically, I don't even think he had like 40 rushing yards. I think he had like 20-something rushing yards, just lowest of the like one of the lowest of the season. He didn't have much of passing yards. What really killed the Giants this game is they muffed the guy basically barely got hit, muffed 2 punts, fumbled it away, and then the Seahawks basically, I think, got 2 touchdowns off it, and that basically is what hurt him that game. So that was basically all these games this week. Going into next week, there's 6 teams on bye, so, and basically this seems like it's going to be one of the last 3 weeks basically been like the dead zone of the season where the games haven't been that exciting, and they don't seem like they're going to be the best either. As you can see, like Eagles 13-point favorites, Bengals 8-point favorites, Chiefs 12-point favorites over the Titans still even. They're a decent team. I mean, just, yeah, looking across the board, there's a lot of, like, matchups. I mean, some interesting one, Lions-Packers, just because the Green Bay's been playing so bad. Lions might be able to get them there. I still doubt it, but, I mean, Raiders being favored over Jacksonville, that's kind of shocking the way both those teams have been playing. I mean, Raiders seem like they've been way worse. If I had to rank these games, I mean, my top 3 for the week, I would probably say, this is going to be in no particular order either at this point. I'm just going to pick them. Dolphins, Bears probably would be one of my ones, just because Justin Fields is watchable now and that offense is interesting with the way he's been playing with the way Tua's been playing with the Dolphins. It's interesting to see if they're going to continue to go. But even then, I'm not the most confident on that. Cardinals, Seahawks is probably watchable. Probably up there too, just because even with all the issues, it's another week acclimated with Kyler and D-Hop back, and the Seahawks have been playing really well as well. So it's going to be interesting if they could take that on the road. And then my third one, I would probably say, I guess the Monday night between the Ravens and Saints, just because the Ravens have been exciting and having some fun games, but this just seems like a weaker week in the NFL. So, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those weeks, it seems like. It's going to be one of those weeks, it seems like, where there's, like, the games are kind of meh. I mean, don't still be in NFL football, though some exciting stuff will happen, but it's just, I could not tell you what from what game. Okay, so this is nice. They have this up now. So we'll basically, so this is what the, so after this week's of games, this is what the thing looks like. I guess the playoffs look like. So these 4 right here are if it playoffs ended or playoffs started today. If games ended today, playoffs started today, these would be your matchups. Not your matchups, sorry. These would be your 1 through 4 seeds and your division winners. Very interesting from the AFC side. And actually, I'll take it back. The NFC side is way more shocking. I mean, the Vikings, beginning of the year, I think Vikings were probably more realistic out of all these. Maybe the Eagles too, but, like, I don't think anybody really saw Seahawks or Falcons. So, I mean, it's good for those squads because, I mean, they've been playing really, really well. And then here are the bottom seeds basically will be cleaning up. So the Giants still make it even with the loss. Cowboys make it. and the 49ers are now in it after their big win. Chargers didn't have to do anything. They survived to stay in. Dolphins beat the Lions, so they stay in. Nothing really changes. And the Jets didn't drop even after their loss. So, the very good starts this season for the Jets has helped them out right now. And then, yeah, I mean, there should be a very, very interesting playoffs based on the past few years with all these teams in. You can get some very, very interesting matchups based off this. And then when it comes to, I'll just do these bubble teams real quick. I mean, Bengals, realistically, I mean, the Colts, as a fan, I want to say have a chance for the playoffs, but maybe not the way it's been looking. So the best chance is probably these two teams right here between the Patriots and Bengals. So, but I mean, the Colts still have a chance, I guess, because they have 3 wins, and I guess that means the Broncos have 2 at this point, but it's probably looking over for them. And then on this side, I mean, yeah, the Bucs have a chance because of the division. Cardinals same way, but I mean, it's just looking pretty rough for these teams. Running through our college real quick. Here's some of just through the top 25 games. Utah, without their quarterback, beats Washington State, which is really good. They're continuing to still be really good. NC State comes back from being down, I think like 14-0, 21 to like 3, something like that. Came back and won, which is really good for them without their quarterback all year. TCU hangs in to still stay undefeated. They beat West Virginia. Awesome win for them. Ohio State had to scare a little bit with Penn State, but eventually got it together and ended up pulling away and winning. Notre Dame beats up on Syracuse. Syracuse is their quarterback, though, in the game, so that's going to hurt them going forward. Illinois beats Nebraska, who isn't that good this year, not surprising. UCF gets a huge win over Cincinnati. So now they might get UCF has some looks to get ranked now, maybe. Oregon absolutely beats Cal. Wake Forest just had the worst. I think had 6 turnovers in the third quarter. Absolutely blow it to Louisville. So it's going to hurt them a lot. Kansas State absolutely murders Oklahoma State with their backup. No contest at all. Georgia played with their food a little bit with Florida. But I mean, so we're managed to get the win. Them against Tennessee is going to be a fun matchup next week. USC barely beats Arizona. That's a kind of a shocking for the score-wise. But I mean, they still find a way to win. Ole Miss beats Texas A&M, which is good for them. Keep them ranked. Tennessee absolutely blows out Kentucky. They look like a wagon. Michigan beats Michigan State. The big headline's a fight in that game between the Michigan State players and that one Michigan player was in the middle of all of them. UCLA beats Stanford by a lot, going back home, and then North Carolina beats Pitt by almost 20, and they were down for a little bit and managed to make a great comeback. So going to next week, Oregon State coming off their bye takes on Washington. That should be a fun game for Oregon State, especially finally being ranked. Ohio State against Northwestern, easy blowout, probably, I would assume. North Carolina against Virginia, that should be a fun game. TCU Texas Tech should be fun as well. TCU should be on undefeated watch. It should be fun to watch that. Oregon should absolutely rock Colorado. Tulane Tulsa, I don't know what's going to happen with that, to be honest. That should be fun. Syracuse not being ranked to Pitt. I mean, Syracuse being dogged to Pitts definitely means something with Schrader's going on. So it'll be interesting to see how that line moves. Tennessee probably is going to be my big bet of the day. I'm really excited to see how they look. I think they have the best chance to beat Georgia if they can just hang around. Oklahoma State against Kansas, that should be a fun game, especially after the way Oklahoma State just absolutely blown out. Kansas has a chance to steal them one. UCF against Memphis, that'll be fun. And then, yeah, Illinois, Michigan State, I mean, Michigan State's kind of bad. Liberty against Arkansas, that should be a fun little matchup. Kansas State against Texas, that should be a really fun game as well. It'll be fun that Adrian Martinez is back. Alabama against LSU will be interesting. Clemson, Notre Dame will be interesting, well. And that kind of basically rounds out the interesting games. So, I mean, this should be a fun week, another fun week of college football. For NFL football, kind of like a lull week. We'll be dead and everything. But either way, it's still the NFL. So there should be still some fun games that happen and everything. And, yeah, hopefully we get blessed with another fun week of football.